Let me ask you something. You run your pest control company, a plumbing company, an HVAC company. You've been doing the same thing for years. You stuff your keywords into your pages, you build some links, and you show up on Google. That system has worked. Maybe not perfectly, but it's worked. So what happens when Google fundamentally changes how it reads, stores, and retrieves information? At the infrastructure level. Not a ranking tweak, not a new algorithm, infrastructure. That's what we're talking about today. Google just published research on something called TurboQuant. And while I know it sounds like a brand of motor oil, it's quietly one of the most important things that's come out in Google research in recent memory. So stick with me, because by the end of this episode, you're going to understand what it means for your rankings, and more importantly, what you need to do about it. Welcome to Search and Destroy, the show where we break down what's actually happening in search. We cut through the noise, we give you the playbook to stay ahead. I'm Matt Rogers, the CEO of Lizard Marketing. We work exclusively with home service businesses. Pest control, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, lawn care. We live in this world every single day, so everything we cover here is filtered through that lens. What does it mean for your business? So let's get into it. Okay, TurboQuant. What is it? To understand TurboQuant, you have to first understand the concept called vector embeddings. I know, already it sounds like we're going deep into the weeds, but bear with me. I'll make it make sense. When modern AI processes information, whether it's a search query, a web page, an image, a sentence, it doesn't just read text. It converts it into something called a vector. Think of a vector as a giant list of numbers that represent the meaning of something, not the words, the meaning. So when someone searches, "Why does my AC smell like burning?" Google isn't just matching that to a string of words to pages that contain those words. It's converting that query into a vector, a mathematical fingerprint of its meaning, and comparing it to vectors of millions of web pages to find the best and closest match. The closest match is most semantically relevant results. That's the engine of modern search, and it runs on these high-dimensional vectors. We're talking hundreds, sometimes thousands of dimensions of data, and every single piece of that content is in an index. We're talking billions of vectors stored in memory, being queried in real time every time someone searches. That creates a problem, a massive, expensive, slow problem, and that's memory. These vectors eat memory like your technician's eating a double cheeseburger at lunch. Fast, a lot of it, no apologies. Now, the traditional solution to this was quantization. You compress the vectors, you make them smaller, you use less memory. That makes sense, right? Except the existing compression methods came with a catch: memory overhead. You'd save memory on the vectors themselves, but the compression tables and lookup structure you need to make that system work would eat its own chunk of memory. You were robbing Peter to pay Paul. TurboQuant solves that. This is new quantization method that Google Search has recently developed, and it does something that none of the previous approaches could do cleanly. It compresses vectors with a near zero memory overhead. The compression tables themselves are stored more efficiently. The pre-processing, the work that needs to happen before you can even start searching, drops to essentially nothing. The numbers so far are reporting up to 8 times performance improvement on computing attention. That means the mechanisms large language learning models use to understand relationships between words, near zero indexing processing time, and superior recall ratios compared to the previous state-of-the-art methods. The last one matters. Better recall means fewer wrong answers, more accurate retrieval. This is not a small incremental improvement. This is a step change in how efficiently you can run vector search at a Google scale. So what does that mean at the industry level? First, AI search gets faster and smarter. Google's been pushing AI-generated summaries to the top of the search results hard. TurboQuant directly addresses one of the core infrastructure bottlenecks holding them back. When you can compress more vectors faster with less memory overhead, you can run larger, more capable AI models to generate those summaries, more queries to get AI overviews. The summaries get better, the answers get more precise. Second, you get fresher indexing. One of the quiet pain points of SEO has been the indexing lag. You publish something, you wait. With quantization overhead essentially eliminated, the pipeline from content exists to content is being indexed and then surfacing in a semantic search shortens significantly. That means a real operational change. Some of the brand new websites that we're building here at Lizard with all of this in mind are being indexed as many as 150 times on their very first day of being published. Third, vector search at scale becomes cheaper to run. That matters because it opens the door of running semantic search across more of the index, more of the time. Right now, we're in a computational limits of how deeply Google can do a meaning-based retrieval of a search query. TurboQuant expands the ceiling. Now, here's where I need to be straight with you, because this show is about telling you the truth. TurboQuant at this point is published research. It's not a confirmed deployment feature in Google search. There's almost certainly a gap between what gets published in research papers and what actually ships to production. We don't know the exact timeline of when this makes it into live production. What we do know is that Google doesn't publish infrastructure research for fun. They publish things that are working, things that are being integrated, things that matter on their roadmap. The trajectory here is clear, even if the exact deployment date isn't. So here at Lizard, we're making informed, forward-looking decisions based on where we think things are heading, not panic moves based on what's already live, and that distinction matters. Let's get specific. You run a home service business. What does this actually mean for you? Here's impact number 1. Keyword stuffing is dying faster than you think. I know you've heard it here before. Everyone's been saying keywords aren't everything for years, but there's a difference between keywords matter less and the infrastructure of search is fundamentally shifting towards meaning-based retrieval. TurboQuant accelerates that second thing. When Google can effectively query billions of vectors based on semantic similarity, not just word matches, the pages that win are the ones that comprehensively cover a topic, not the ones that mention a keyword 14 times. If you're a pest control page about termites that only talks about termites in the context of selling your service and repeating termite control and Charlotte over and over and over again, that page is going to get outperformed by a page that actually explains how termites behave, signs of infestation, the difference between termite options, how moisture affects risks. A page that answers the full spectrum of what someone worried about termites might actually want to know. Impact number 2. AI overviews are taking more clicks away from you, and that's accelerating. So let me be blunt. If TurboQuant makes it easier and cheaper for Google to deploy AI overviews at scale, more of your keywords are going to get an AI overview above an organic result. That means fewer clicks on your website and informational queries. Full stop. The counters to this are: 1, make sure you are the source being cited by the AI overview. That means authoritative, well-structured content that AI systems recognize as reliable. 2, push harder on queries that still drive clicks. High-intent transactional queries where someone wants to book a call, not just get an answer. Emergency plumber in Phoenix is not going away to AI overviews anytime soon. Impact number 3, local authority signals matter more, not less. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Semantic searches don't just apply to web page content. It applies to your entire digital footprint. Reviews, citations, businesses, descriptions, Q&A on your Google business profile. All of these contribute to the vectors that represent your business and Google's system. If your Google business profile description is generic garbage, we provide quality pest control service to homeowners and businesses. You are leaving money on the table. That description should be specific. It should mention types of pests that you treat, neighborhoods where you serve, type of customers that you specialize in. Feed the machine better data. Impact 4. Indexing freshness is going to reward businesses that are active. If indexing speed increases, the businesses that are publishing consistently, regular blog posts, service page updates, new content addressing seasonal questions, you're going to see faster ranking cycles. That set it and forget it approach to your website becomes even more of a losing strategy. This doesn't mean that you need to publish junk daily. It means that you need a quarterly cadence of well thought out, genuinely useful content that's going to outperform a static website that hasn't been touched since your web designer built it 3 years ago. So let me pump the brakes here for a second because this is important. TurboQuant is a research paper. It's published work from Google's research. It's not a confirmed, live, deployed feature in Google as of this recording. We're making educated inferences about what it means for search based on where the Google infrastructure is heading, not reporting on a feature that went live on Tuesday. The gap between Google research publishes this And this is running in production at scale, can be months or even years. Sometimes things get published and then get quietly shelved. Sometimes they ship fast. We don't know. What we do know is this: the direction of travel is consistent and clear. Google has been moving towards semantic meaning-based search for years. TurboQuant is a part of that same trajectory. So we're making positioning decisions based on that trend that's already real and accelerating, not banking on a single paper to have changed everything overnight. I'd rather give you our honest framing and have you make a smart decision than oversell in a panic moment that requires you to torch your current strategy, because it doesn't. All right, so let's talk about what actually to do. Here's your playbook. 1. Audit your top service pages for topic depth. Don't ask, did I mention my keyword enough? Ask, does this page actually cover the topic? A termite page should answer, what are termites? How do I know I have them? Why are they dangerous? How does treatment work? What is the cost? What should I expect for a treatment? If your page doesn't cover the full conversation, it's too thin. 2. Get your Google business profile in order. Rewrite your business descriptions. Be specific. Mention services, geographic areas, and types of customers that you serve. Make sure your Q&A section has a real answer to a real question, not just silence. Use your GBP posts. This is free real estate that feeds the semantic model of your business. 3. Build content that answers the full question, not just the top of the funnel. Think about the questions your customers ask before, during, and after they book. How long does pest control last? Is it safe for my dog? What happens if my ants come back? These are real questions with real search volume, and answering them comprehensively makes your site more authoritative for semantic sources. 4. You're link building on topical authority, not just domain authority. If you're a pest control business, links to local news stories about pest control issues in your areas, links from home improvement publications, links from real estate sites talking about pest inspections, these are more valuable than generic links from random business directories because it contextually is relevant. Google's semantic systems are increasingly understanding the relationship between the content of the linking page and the content of the destination. 5. Monitor your AI overview appearance. We do this regularly at Lizard. Do a regular check on your highest traffic keywords. Are AI overviews appearing? Is your brand being cited? If not, look at the sources that are being cited and try to understand what those pages are doing that yours isn't. Structure, depth, and authority signals. Here's the bigger picture to keep in mind. TurboQuant isn't an isolated development. It's a part of a consistent pattern. Google is building the infrastructure to understand meaning at scale. Every year, the gap between I followed the technical rules of SEO and I actually built the most meaningful resource on this topic narrows. The businesses that close that gap proactively are the ones that are going to be in a strong position 2, 3, 4 years from now. For home services specifically, this is a significant opportunity. Most of your competitors are still operating in a 2018 playbook. They're stuffing keywords, they're not publishing content, their Google business profile is a wasteland, their websites aren't even touched. There's a real window right now for building a meaningful lead over your competition, even the big boys, by doing the things that align where search is going, not just what's been working in the past. The businesses that wake up and realize that the game is changing will gain the ground. The ones that don't will scratch their heads in a couple of years and wonder why their rankings fell off a cliff. That's an honest picture. If you're a home service business owner and you're watching this thinking, I know we need to do stuff about this and I don't have time or a team that can execute on it, that's exactly what Lizard Marketing exists for. We work exclusively with home service businesses, pest control, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, lawn care. We don't dilute our focus across every industry under the sun. We go deep into our own space. If you want to have a real conversation about where your digital marketing stands and what it would take to get you ahead of what's coming, head to lizardmarketing.co and we'll talk. And if this episode gave you something useful, subscribe and drop a comment. Share it with another operator in your industry. The more that we can get this information out there to people who actually need it, the better. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time on Search and Destroy.